How you going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, buddy. How are you?
Going great. And g'day, everyone. I believe we're now live and free as we are supposed to be on. Oh, stop it. Talking to myself. How you going, everyone? It's it's Thursday. We've arrived at Thursday. I'm a bit bedraggled, I've got to say. It's been a heavy week, and I don't know. This bamboo stuff's just driving me nuts at the moment. How's your week been, Ash?
Well, a tough trade in the S&P yesterday.
Yeah, it's
And
a shame you shared that with us.
what's that? Sorry.
So yeah, it's a shame you shared that with us.
Yeah, I thought it was my responsibility, to share what I was doing. So
Yeah, it happens.
so yeah, I got into that, but it's one of those things, I was out actually yesterday, and it was one of those things in the end that I just thought, I really shouldn't have got into that trade in the first place, and because of it, I'm a little bit annoyed with myself, and it kind of brings me to today's trading. What to do, because I'd quite like to buy now. I think the market is broken through, specifically the Nasdaq. I really like, but I'm now at the stage where I'm sort of thinking, you know what, I don't know whether my frame of mind is absolutely on point. Whenever I take a bit of a loss like that, where I'm unable to control it, because there's no way I would have left that trade run if I was in front of the markets to the stop loss, but I did on this occasion because I wasn't there, and because there's a nice wide stop loss, and because of it, I'm a little bit frustrated this morning. So at this stage, I'm a little bit 50-50 on whether I'll trade. I mean, it does mean that I'm going to be extra cautious. But you remember me saying, whether it was on Monday or last week, that week 2 and 3 tend to be my least productive.
Yep.
It's already proved to be the case. So I don't really know whether I
You've
want
got that
to
mindset then.
compound. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'm just working out the pound trade at the moment. What have you got on
Do you know what it is,
screen?
mate?
You got
I
forex
find it.
trade.
I find it just that little bit harder to pick the week 2 and 3 period. What's going to
Mate,
happen?
I'm
The
not having
market.
much luck myself this week. We had dollar yen crash out on us. Well, no surprise there. Me and dollar yen don't get on too well, but
Yeah.
you'd think I'd bar myself, wouldn't you? For all time, you would really.
Well,
think
this is what I'm wondering, whether today I might just bar myself and then take tomorrow off, start afresh over the over next week. Because the thing is, the thing about when you manage a trade badly, I think that I just think that if you kind of start jumping in with before you're ready, you're effectively saying, I'm not going to make money for the rest of this month. I've got to get that money back. But it's just not that important. I'm quite happy to wait, even if it is 2 weeks. It's not going to be 2 weeks, but even if it was 2 weeks, I don't mind waiting until there's a proper opportunity again.
Makes sense. I'm just lining up the pound trade here, so bear with me 2 secs. 29.35.
Thank you, Sweet. Good morning to you, buddy. Good morning, Paresh. Good morning, Shukri.
Okay, so for those of you who want to follow the pound trade, we will be trading either way this morning because we don't have anything in the way. That turned out to be a good decision yesterday as well, where we refused to take the long, which didn't last too long. But now I see it's in a different mood today.
Okay, let me open up the...
So far, anyway.
Open up the journal.
I'll put the long in and then I'll come back and do the TPs. So the buy will be at 29.56 or 1.2956.
1.2956.
Stop loss on that will be at 1.2926.
Okay.
TP1 on that one will be 15 pips above our entry because we're using half of our risk. So it'll be at 1.2971. And I better put it in the market. Uh, 1.2956, I said. Stop loss, 1.2926. They look to be in a bit of a hurry this morning.
Yeah, I'm just going to see if there's a trade on the FTSE. Looks like there could be a long here. Let me just double check something here.
Okay, TP1, as I said, will be 15, will be 2971. 1.2971 will be TP1. And TP2 will be 60 pips, so 2 be 3016. 1.3016 will be TP2.
Sorry, Matt, I'm just I'm a bit distracted.
You're right.
If you put those in, I'm just wondering whether I should take a trade long in the FTSE actually as we speak.
Absolutely.
Let me just see.
All right, the short guys will be at 1.2923. I think that's right. If this thing will play ball. Yeah, yep, that's right. And the stop loss 1.2935, that's correct. TP1 will be at 1.2917. And TP2 will be at double the risk. So that's 1224. So it'll be 1.288, sorry, 1.2899. Okay, so they are the parameters for today's breakout trade. You'll also notice that I've got an order down the bottom here, which I took this morning on the daily chart. You've had a haircut, mate.
I have had a haircut. Yeah, I have.
Very right on the ball.
I reneged eventually. Sorry, Matt, I'm just wondering whether I should take this trade.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. So I'll just talk to the folks here. On the daily chart, I saw this on pound US dollar. I saw that we had a rebound off the top of our range. And when we're looking for trades off the top of our range, we're looking for lower highs. We've got actually 2 equal lower highs here, but a nice bearish bar here on Tuesday, which was yesterday responded to with this bar here. That's a double cross on the weekly pivot for me. It's also the lower high. As I said, it's an equal lower high. And I think that was a reasonable position to take. The market doesn't agree with me as yet, and maybe there's more to the upside. Maybe we haven't tested the monthly pivot yet, and maybe that's what has to happen. If that's the case, I'm fine with that. I don't care as long as we don't get taken in. But if this bar means anything, then I think we've got a shot. So I'll take that shot at small risk, but I'll take the shot anyway. And it's very, very difficult to trust the pound or the US dollar. So we've combined the two. Does 2 wrongs make a right? I don't know. Let's have a look and see if we can make any sense of what the dollar index is doing. Hopefully that's sharing now on my chart. Yep, you're going to take it?
I'm going to take this long. Okay. Let me just double check one level. In fact, let's take the screen. Let's take the screen. I've got one more thing to check here. I quite like this this long now. I'm just double checking one level, which is here. Now that is suggesting actually. Let's just make sure that's the right area. It's not a question of whether I'm going long. It's a question of where I'm going long. I quite like it here. Looking at this on the 15, there's a little trend line along there. We haven't tested the daily pivot, but that might not be an issue. Da, 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 da. And this is the issue when you're a little bit out of sync. You start to kind of go, well, do I get a better setup here? I think it's because it's not screaming at me, mate. I'm going to have to pass on it.
Fair call.
I quite like it. Oh gosh, does look good, doesn't it? Okay. What do the first 5 minutes do? Yeah, it does look good, but I've given up 1/3% already. Yeah. This trend line along here is what it's held. It looks good. It does look good. I don't think it comes to the daily pivot. I was watching the markets yesterday, and they've been on such a tear. The FTSE didn't really react quite as well, which is why I'm wondering whether it might be this the FTSE's turn. You can see here, like, pretty nice break there. We've had the retest. It does look good. It does look good, but let's just see if we can get in at that point down there. 25s. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to pass, mate. Do I pass? For now, which probably means I'm going to have to pass because the opportunity is probably now. But I'm just wondering whether I'm in the right balance really for right now to be taking this trade. I do really like it, and I think if I was if I felt pretty comfortable about things from yesterday, I would be going long here for sure. But I think I've got to kind of check my head as well and say, is this a situation where I'm making up a little bit for yesterday, and it could be. I don't think it is, but it could be. And at the risk of that being the case, I think I'm just going to wait for an opportunity. Market's here all month, so I'm going to leave this one, mate. But I think there is a long there. I think it looks pretty good, but this is just a kind of a personal thing for myself.
Yep. Cool, mate. No dramas there.
Thank you, Lloyd.
G'day, Lloyd. How you doing, bud? That haircut works wonders for you, mate, apparently.
It seems to, doesn't it? Yeah,
Lloyd's on fire.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions that we need to answer from Sino. You look like you're in a good trade there, buddy. Euro Aussie short. Have you got a Euro Aussie chart? Or you want me to take it?
Oh, sure. Euro Aussie, yes. Let's get my eyes off this one. That's probably not a bad thing. Euro Aussie. Here we go. Yep.
Okay, so Sino's in the short. The question is, do I think it'll go all the way down to the bottom of the daily weekly range? Okay, if you want to put the range in, Ash, I suppose, which goes back to the 5th of June.
Are we looking on the daily chart here?
Yep.
The 5th of June. Okay. Okay, so 5th of June. So what are we looking to?
Yeah, there's a couple of low. Well, there's a low there on the 5th of June, just a little bit. Hang on, I'll have a look at your chart.
Right about there, is it?
Yeah, around about there. So go up a little bit to catch the spike. Yeah, about there somewhere.
Okay.
I think it is, and the top's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yep, we're in there somewhere. So what has happened here? He's got in on the lower high, which is on a smaller time frame, an H1, a nice little slingshot setup. Very nicely spotted, mate. Well done. What would I expect to happen? I would expect to hit the pivot and have a little bit of a hesitation. I would expect it then to go through to the trend line, and or is that the monthly pivot? I assume. I'm not looking at my chart.
There's a monthly pivot here. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get there to the confluence that quickly, but anything can happen at any time. So why not? Can it go down to the bottom of the range? Of course it can, and we'd be expecting it to. Your problem's going to be that strong support level there, and whether you're willing to hang on and ride the bounce, because it almost certainly will have a little bit of a bounce there, one would think, in that area. I like the trade. I think it's pretty cool. You've got a nice lower high, and you've got a nice lower low that precedes it. And as you are very well aware, that is in a range and has been, well, probably since the end of May. So that's going to be your problem area.
Yeah.
But just take a little bit of profit off the table, mate, is what I'd be doing.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's exactly the same as I'd play it as well. I'd be looking to take some profit on the weekly pivot. And just looking at this, let's have a look. Just looking at this, what's it suggesting here? Yeah, the range. Yeah, I can see this completely. So we're kind of trading within that range on the Euro Oz. There looks to be a trend line up there. What's the fib on that particular move that we've had as well? Yeah, there's some fibs in this area as well. So even if it tips below, actually, this is quite an interesting area because you look at the weekly pivot here, and it does. I would suggest the same thing. This is probably somewhere in this area. There's a profit taking area. There's a little bit of resistance here and resistance here, and you can see that there's like a horizontal level that goes along there as well. So I guess within this area here. There's the higher likelihood of a bounce. Whether it bounces is another question, but there is a higher probability of a bounce along that point. You've also got the trend line to contend with as well along here, and depending on the time, price action goes, then that looks to me like near enough the end of the trade. What's this trend line doing here? Yeah, there's another trend line there as well. So there's a lot actually, between these 2 points is quite a lot. But it looks like maybe the monthly pivot or just before would be another bounce point. Whether it can go through that eventually is another question. But that looks like almost the area that you'd expect the buys to come into play. But looks really good, mate. But and with it moving at this pace, the way that I'd be looking at it now is going down some time frames. You can go to the 5 in situations like this and just see, really, you want to see whether the 5 puts in a pattern which suggests it's reversing. Now, there's a trend line there, so you can start sliding down when it gets into your zone. Then you don't have to make the decision to close half out if you don't want to. You can see if it gets into your zone, which is probably, I would have thought, between these 2 levels here. Because there's a little high point here and here. There's the pivot there. There's the fib there, and then you got the trend line. So within this zone is where you want to start thinking about management, but not before, because it can jerk around. But if it touches that zone, then I'd be flipping personally. I'd be flipping to shorter term timeframes and just making sure that I'm tucked in behind the short term timeframes. And the reason for that is that the move has been fairly aggressive to the downside here on what is effectively an hourly break. I don't know. Let's just have a look at the 4 hour as well. Yeah, the 4 hour hasn't confirmed that we got the break yet because it's still in completion, but the hourly break is going, which is why I'd flip to short-term timeframes start thinking about where I'm going to take the first half. Now, I wouldn't want to take all of it if it broke the trend line on a 5, but I'd want to sort of start thinking, okay, maybe it's time to start taking a bit of profit on that after that. Now, just seeing Lloyd's thing as well. Lloyd, by the way, have a look at the FTSE on the weekly. Seems a descending triangle, and the price is at the apex. So let's have a look at that.
Angel's is rousing on us, mate.
I beg your pardon?
Angel's rousing on us. We've been naughty.
Are we? What we done?
We didn't change our names. Thank you, okay, thank you, Angel.
No problem at all. So I see a channel here. But actually, it looks like a falling wedge, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks more like a falling wedge. So there is bullish price action. I think it's got a little bit to go personally. I'd have to see your chart, Lloyd, to know. In fact, if you want to send us a picture of that, Lloyd, that'd be great. I was just creating work for you. But if you want to send us the triangle, because I can't see the triangle on the weekly, I can see this falling wedge. Which is bullish, and it does suggest if we break through 60-64, then we got some open water to maybe certainly get up to that high. And it looks like beyond, yeah. I mean, this is what the measured move on the falling wedge would suggest, that if it broke up, 66.07 is on. So that's a 700-point gain to the upside. I don't think we're on the top end of that though. So send us what you got, mate. That'd be really cool, and we can have a look. FTSE's really struggled though. You know, it's been tough for the UK and the UK market, the FTSE 100. When we've seen the S&P. Had a really good day yesterday. You know, it was look at that. I mean, it's so steep. The move to the upside is so aggressively bought up, and the same with the Nasdaq. You know, I was watching these charts kind of intermittently while I was in and out, and I actually couldn't believe the move that we had. And the move to the downside, this really big shift to the downside, was because Trump announced that stimulus was kind of off. And until after the election, there was going to be no negotiations. But then he tweeted something else, and from what I read and hear, it seems that the market is now quite happy to say, well, we're going to get the stimulus. It's just a case of the new administration coming in, and it looks more and more like a landslide victory for Biden. So seems to be a bit of certainty coming back in. But I did not expect it just to go rallying like it did. I mean, you know, there isn't any stimulus package right now, but but the moves, you know, I suppose this one not so much, but this move to the upside was pretty aggressive. But it's been every time, mate. Every time it's had an aggressive move to the downside, the bounce back has just been astonishing, and it was no different yesterday. And then you compare that to the FTSE, and the FTSE's just it's pretty tepid, isn't it?
Yeah, look, that's what's making it so tough. It's not difficult to get into the market. It's difficult to stay in the market in profit, because it is going backwards and forwards like a bungee rope. And, yeah, you know, very, very frustrating. And that's been the case for a few weeks. I've been in quite a few trades that have been going in the right direction. You get TP1, not a problem. And then suddenly, kerbang, Weishi backs up on you. It is very, very frustrating because there is no follow through. I'm not sure how the trend traders are getting on with that, but that might be very, very frustrating for them. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll end. It's just a matter of getting it to that point, I suppose. It is frustrating.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I think we all expected a pickup in volatility during this period, but which has happened, of course. But when it, you know, as soon as it calms down, it's just that the market is just off and running again in just the most crazy way. And but yeah, as I say, the FTSE hasn't followed it. I suspect it's probably a little bit down to do with Brexit.
All things are possible. A few more to look at. If you want to look at them on your charts, happy days, no drama. Euro dollar is one.
Euro dollar, yep.
And I think it was Sino saying there's a possible short on the daily. I had a good look at this morning and was tossing it up myself. And as you guys know, I've been looking at the retest of the neckline, which is of either, take your pick, the Three Little Indians, my Three Little Indians, or there's probably a complex Head and Shoulders there as well. But certainly the neckline broke and is now being retested in spades. To me, that's not a bad thing. To me, that's a good thing. Because there's a lot of reversal patterns that start out in that very fashion. And I'm keen to get short here. I'm definitely keen to get short here. What is going to cause that, or what I can do to get into the market is a little bit problematic. There is a descending trend line, of course, which is the resistance trend line, which is pretty much bang on the monthly pivot. Actually, your monthly pivot's a bit different to mine. Daily chart's the one I'm looking at. That's why it looks different. So you can see the rejection of the monthly pivot there, and you can see the confluence area of both the trend line, the horizontal level. There's also a resistance trend line coming down there as well. So it's a whole bunch of stuff going on there in that point, which is pretty much bang on where we are. So it's pay attention time, in my opinion. It's just getting the timing right. And as I say, where that comes from, I'm not 100% sure. But I think I'll be waiting, as always, for a false break of resistance. So that trend line that comes down from the lower high after the top, I think is the one that I'm most interested in. If you want to put that in, Ash.
Sorry, mate. The trend line up here.
Next one down.
This here.
Yep.
Yeah, I see it.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I've actually even got it coming down from the next swing low. Should bring it down to the swing high. Sorry. If you bring it down to the next one up. That one. And there it hits the confluence.
Yeah. I see that.
So that's where I want to trade from, most definitely. It's just a matter of finding my way in. And whilst ever you're in that position, then short has to be the sport for me. So that's what I'll be looking for. False break of that resistance trend line is absolutely spot on. And, it doesn't have to be on the daily. It can be on the 30-minute if you like. But it has to be there before I can get in. If you want to just be a scalper, then it's a good spot. I can tell you it's a good spot. And like I say, a lot of reversals begin like that. And when it generally goes quickly from there. Be on alert, guys. I think that is a strong potential. If you have a look at the bigger picture, you might be in the middle of a big head right there. Or at the right edge of a big head right there. Which could come
do you mean here?
The whole
the whole thing.
The whole thing could be a head.
Oh yeah.
No, your left shoulder's right down at what about 113.60. Funny thing that. The left shoulder, if you go down to 113.60-ish.
Oh, really? Down here?
So those of you who don't know, 113.60 is my favorite euro number.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So the neckline then becomes along here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of looking at it to do. Oops. Oh, I can't get my oh, there it is. You're looking at it there. And then this all becomes the head.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be looking for that.
Yay.
I mean, that would be a really good move, wouldn't it, if it could come down to that point there?
Well, like I said, it's in a prime position. Absolutely prime position right now. Pound yen on the daily sign. We'll have a look at that as well. And also euro yen on the daily. Wow, there's a whole lot going on, you guys. And I looked at these this morning, by the way. That's how I'm pretty much in the zone with you as well.
Can't get my I'm struggling to get my my tools. Where's my? Oh, okay, no, that's okay. Lloyd just sent through the picture of the FTSE, and he's got this here. You guys can see it. So he's looking at that trend line down there. Oh yeah, I see. And then a level along there. I see. So that would be on the chart.
I kind of see a channel there more than a triangle.
Yeah, I see it too, and it's interesting, isn't it? Sort of how you can look at things differently.
Absolutely. Each trader can look at it in a very, very different fashion.
It's on a weekly. So he's looking at this. And yeah, I do see that pattern actually.
I can see it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, along there. Yeah, there are. It looks like there's a couple of different patterns. I mean, I've got a falling wedge. The channel. Yeah, I mean, I started to build the channel, and I couldn't get the lines equidistant, so it sort of turns into a falling wedge. But yeah, also, I mean, I suppose the key with it really is this level here. You know, if we are looking at a triangle, or whether we're looking at the falling wedge, it's still this trend line. We break through there, we're off to the races, I would suspect, as long as the market conditions allow. And it's still got some room to get there. You know, and we're a little bit in the middle of the two areas here. Now, the FTSE really, the price action since we spoke, just kind of froze in time. It hasn't really done a whole bunch. So it looks like that might be, you know, in a bit of a wait and see mode. Could be down here that we try and pick it up instead of the initial thought, which was in this area. But you can see that the bars don't look particularly conclusive one way or the other. So there's nothing clean. And going back to the weekly, it does look like we're kind of in the middle of the range there, and it just depends, you know, are we bullish or are we bearish? If we're bullish, then we can aim for that trend line, take profit, and then see if it goes through and retest and add it again. Of course, if we're bearish, we're possibly looking down to this lower line. But the global equities don't seem to be in too bad a shape. I was also looking at gold and silver to try and get a bit of a gauge, and I was wondering, you know, I was thinking, well, if the FTSE, sorry, if the global markets are getting, you know, hyper bullish, then we might get an opportunity to sell some of these metals again. But there's, you know, obviously always going to be counter reasons for a move, and you know, to say the opposite could happen, and one of them is that the dollar appears to be weakening. You know, somewhat while the equities are pushing up, the dollar's weakening, so it's pushing up commodities like gold and silver. But the other thing is, while there is still a little bit of uncertainty out there, is there a justification for buying stocks and buying some protection at the same time, i.e., gold and silver? So I was looking at the potential to you know, see if there was a short on silver, but I talked myself out of that one as well, and thinking, well, I think I need to do a bit more digging here before I commit to shorting on silver. Because of the moves that we've had, and you know, aside from anything else, S&P aside, let's talk about the Nasdaq, because that's the one I was watching fairly closely. The Nasdaq is at a fairly significant level here. You know, it's another one of those. If it gets through, it's got some open water, and you can see that, you know, it's right at the last line of defense here for the bears, until we go and test those highs again. So even this could suggest that there could be another move down here. What we've really had, and you can see fairly clean, I think, on this one. I don't like where it is. You know, it's way too high in the picture. But regardless of anything, whether we give it its name of the inverted head and shoulders, or we just accept that it's an accumulation pattern, that's certainly what's going on here. There is some accumulation. Every time it pops down, you know, here it really the accumulation pattern is complete on that right shoulder. So people are accumulating here, and stopping it going back down to the lows, and we are on top of the neckline. You know, that's where we currently sit. Yeah, it looks like a fairly decent neckline, I would suggest. So we're on top of that neckline now. It could still fail here, and we've got with the presidential election looming, then is there a question of us actually being in a bit of a range? You know, does this just turn into a range until the end of the election, and then we pop up? Or possibly pop down? That would be less likely. But you know, is there a possibility of just some volatility here, and we come down again? It pauses here for a little while until we get a little bit more clarity. Certainly nothing from the Fed minutes yesterday that pushed the market down, and I didn't really hear why the market is up at this particular point. You know, apart from Trump rowing back a little bit on the stimulus negotiation. And offering some aid to some workers and some money to some workers. I didn't really hear why the market got to its lofty heights that it is right now, relative lofty heights, of course, but it does possibly put us on the back foot a little bit, and for that very reason, the shorts are a bit difficult, and the longs aren't on until we break and retest. And maybe that's the same picture with the FTSE. You know, we've been looking at a couple of patterns there. It's in the middle of the big pattern. It could, just like the Nasdaq here, it could actually go either way at this point, because we're in a sell zone, but we have positive sentiment. So at this stage, we need that positive sentiment to be proven, or we need the sell zone to be backed up by negative sentiment. So that's kind of the key that I'm waiting for at this particular point. But we are at a sweet spot. So it's just waiting for either a break. You know, the break's interesting because the break would provide us an opportunity because of the positive sentiment, or we're waiting for sentiment to change here so we can look for further downside. But at this stage, it's a bit of a hiatus. So yeah, tricky one, mate. And you know, this is why I don't particularly like week 2 and 3, because it does often go into these ranges, and they become eminently harder to speculate on which direction they're going to go when we get these ranges. It very rarely breaks through. That's some of the issue. So I was trying to look for short in the US stock market, because of President Trump's tweet when the market popped back up to this monthly pivot. Now, that was a fair entry, no doubt. The entry was absolutely fine, and you can see that the reaction suggests it was the right point to enter the market short on. But as soon as this bar happens, and particularly this one, and definitely this one, that trade is negated, and then you're guessing. So that's where I would have been right on top of this, and I'm annoyed that I wasn't able to do that. But anyway, let's go back to the FTSE just briefly, because the FTSE looks like it might be at the lower end of this shorter term range here. I'm just going to check. I am just going to check. Yeah, the airlines bailout. You're right, Shukri. Let me just double check something here. And I'm just seeing what the sentiment is. 60% of stocks in positive territory, not overtly bullish, but there are 60% of stocks in positive territory on the FTSE 100 currently. Travel and leisure leading the way with GVC Holdings. They are up 6.5%, and International Consolidated Airlines again. Travel and leisure getting a pretty good boost. How are my shares in EasyJet going? I'm hoping they've got a boost as well. EasyJet up a grand, 0.13% on the day. So they're not quite as popular as the others, but EasyJet are on their way now anyway. And I still like. There's a few shares actually. We might talk. In fact, there are shares we're going to talk about in the US show. There's a specific share that I want to talk about in the US show, and I'll bring you the reason for it right there and then. But we'll talk a little bit about EasyJet. I've got a fairly nice price on that, and while the while the travel and leisure industry seems to be getting a bit of a boost, it looks like that could be a place to put some money. But look, we might be just getting a signal here on the FTSE 100 for some upside. Question is, will it go at this particular point? So I'm just going to double check this one more time, mate, before.
Right about.
I'm going to wait to the top of the hour with this one. I'm not sure whether it's 100% necessary, but because of the state of play for me right now, with making sure I'm checking my head, I would like to just get that little bit more security, which is probably going to work against me. And in actual fact, you know what? I'll be looking at this on a 15, and that's got 10 minutes to go regardless. So yeah, I'm still waiting, mate, to make a bit of a choice on this. But the FTSE for a long looks the most likely.
All right, when you're ready, we'll take a trip around the grounds and have a look.
Yeah,
and
let's
see
take a trip around the grounds.
What's going down in currency land? Let me go firstly to pound US dollar, which has been triggered. And we are long the pound and in slight drawdown at the moment, waiting for TP1 up here. So cancel the short, guys. The short is no longer valid, except, of course, on my daily chart, which I believe is still valid. Well, it is still valid. There's no question it's still valid. And those of you who haven't caught up with that one and would like so to do, I'm pretty much trading a double cross of the weekly pivot, but there's a whole lot more to it than that. There's a few trade lines in place. It's exactly the same trade as we're looking at on euro dollar, euro yen, pound yen. There's a whole lot of these that look very, very similar to me. We've got three little Indians. We've got the top of the range. We've come back below the neckline. We've retested the neckline twice. And for that reason, I want to get short the pound versus the US dollar. The interesting part about that equation, of course, is this stupid thing known as the dollar index. How the hell can you work this out? It's got levels all over the place that it's just bouncing off, and we've gone into consolidation, as you can clearly see at that, or the top of that range, which was broken when 3 weeks ago, nearly 3 weeks ago. Crazy stuff. Where does it go next? I'm not sure, to be fair. It looked yesterday like we had a break and retest of the support trade line and therefore a short. It tried to get down there, but it hesitated and didn't go all the way. Is it going there today? Don't know. I really have no idea on dollar yen, on the dollar index. All I can say is that it is in now a range, and maybe we should be looking to range trade the dollar pairs. Maybe, just maybe, that's what I'm taking out of that. But at the moment, I find it very, very difficult to get a clean read on the US dollar. Should I be surprised? I don't think so, because that is the nature of this beast at the moment. And look, to be fair, we are in an election year and we're 3 weeks out or something. So don't be surprised that that's the case, because there's a whole lot happening on an intraday or on a daily basis. Tweets, announcements, pork barreling, all sorts of things going on. So, don't be surprised that the dollar is up and down like father's pants. It's not a funny thing at the moment. All right, so that's the pound. We are long, as I said, and we're looking for TP1 at 129.71. And at this very point in time, we're not there. And the market's just having a little decision at DR1. Question, for those of you who were in the US session last night, what direction would you prefer to trade the pound today, given the circumstances that we have got? We're long at DR1. And we have an untested daily pivot below us. Would you be preferring to go long, or would you be preferring to go short at this point under my little rules? Yep, I'm sure you'll answer that question correctly. And it won't be long, right? There's a hint. It won't be long. All right. So that's the pound. As I said, I'm a bear. Yes, absolutely. We'd be looking. Well, actually, that's not strictly correct. What we would be looking to do is not trade it long. That's the correct answer, really. Doesn't mean trade it short, but and that's not the question I asked, was it? The question I asked was, which direction would you be preferring to trade? And you're 100% right. Short is the correct answer. If it goes up to here and we win money on it, then it's good being wrong, I suppose, when you're trading breakouts. But really, the direction here, the directional bias from me is definitely short intraday and even end of day. So I'm a massive bear, the pound at the moment. Whether that's right or wrong will be determined probably in the next few hours. Okay, a couple of questions that we did have before. Euro yen, and actually it wasn't euro yen. Euro yen was one, and look, it's exactly the same trade as I said before. Well, sorry, it's exactly the same position. There is no trade there for me right now because we have got, if you like, a head and shoulders sitting here. We have had a neckline break, and we've had a whole lot of action or inaction, as the case may be, on the monthly pivot. Now, of course, I'm still bearish, extremely bearish, because of this reason. So until we take out the head and shoulders, I will remain bearish. And again, you know, this is a marvelous place to be looking for reversals when you do get that neckline break and the retest of that neckline again. Yeah, just stay on alert here. I think there'll be action coming up. I'm not sure when, but there'll be action coming up. The way I'll trade it, same as always, I'll be looking for a break, a little bit of consolidation, back underneath the confluence area, retest the confluence area, and bang, I'll be in that like a shark on a mackerel if it does set up that way. So that's Euro Pound. There are a couple more questions. Kiwi Cat, Alexi. Hi, Alexi. How you doing? Kiwi CAD, that's pound Kiwi. Oh, well, whilst we're there on pound Kiwi, if this takes off, I won't be that happy because I'm not in it yet. But gee whiz, here we go again. I remember when we got into this move here, we got in pretty quickly and pretty easily as a breakout of that range there, you'll recall. And no such luck on this occasion. The range didn't go long enough. But we've certainly broke it. We've come back and retested the top of it, almost certainly created a trend line. And now I'm really, really keen to get back into this long and take it up to here. Why, oh, why won't it set up for me? Maybe it's just not ready. Maybe that's the case. Maybe we need to pull back down to here and give us that significant higher low that we crave all the time. So that's probably where I'm at with pound Kiwi, but gee whiz, I'm keen to get into it again. Give me something. Just give me anything. The first thing I see, or the first possibility I see, is this trend line here. It's a little bit acute, though, I've got to say. If I bring it down to a 4 hour, then if we can just get down here and create the false break that we need, then happy days. We would be very good. We would be very, very happy with that. Other possibilities, I don't really see them at the moment. Maybe a retest of this area here would be good, but the retest has gone on the 4 hour chart. It would have to be on a daily, so I'd have to have this one come back here and enter long there. Not my wish. That's not the place to enter long for me. Don't like it too much. So I've got to get back here. Got to get back here somewhere and find that sweet spot. Not yet. Kiwi CAD, was it Kiwi CAD? Yep. Kiwi CAD, and Lexi's got a head and shoulders on the daily chart. I can see one there. Is it the daily chart, Lexi? Yep. Okay, so what Lexi's seeing here is, where's my pen? Is a head, a left shoulder, and a right shoulder. And we have now got a neckline break. Or have we? Depends on where you put your neckline. I suppose that's your neckline. I hate necklines like that. I like necklines to be either, well, no, I like necklines like that. So they're actually support levels. Now, this for me is a very nice clean break of that trade line as well. Retest, Lexi. Maybe a retest here. Got a nice confluence of resistance and support. There's probably a horizontal level running through there as well. Yes, I can see that. So yeah, I would like to get back here. That would be good. And then I could, again, a retest of the neckline. Same. If we get that, then I'm happy to trade it. Kiwi CAD, I'm a massive bear, the Kiwi, and I'm a bull, the CAD, so it all makes sense to me. I'm with you, absolutely 100% in terms of bias. Those of you who trade slingshots may be thinking that we have a dominator situation there. And kind of yes, kind of no. The reason it's not, for me, a dominator is because nothing's actually broken that trade line. We've had a close on it, and then we've had a second sell-off, but not really yet a clear break of it. So that's how you trade the dominator. So it's not actually a dominator setup. I'm not saying for 1 second that it's not going to go, because if you have a look at this, which we saw on the Aussie, the 3 black crows, and that's why I was a massive bear, the Aussie, right? Because I saw that, which was backing up this. So I actually agree with the bias is definitely to the downside, in my humble opinion. But for me right now, I just don't have that set up. But I'm with you, Lexi, 100%. That was Kiwi CAD. There were another couple, I think, pound yen. Well, we spoke about that. Yeah, yes, I know, similar, and I think they're all the same. They're the same trade, all these euro dollar, pound yen, euro yen. Let me have a look at the Aussie, actually. Not that goose there. Aussie dollar. Daily chart. See those three there? Exactly the same as I just pointed out, turned into 4.5 actually. not quite 4. But that's a massive and very, very strong signal. Again, we had kind of the 3 little Indians. I won't really claim that as 3 little Indians, but you can see false break, false break, false break, 3 in a row getting higher. That's always a strong signal for me anyway. And then this is a stronger signal, and we've got the retest, and we've got a double cross on the weekly pivot. Why am I not trading this? Because I'm trading it on the pound, aren't I? Do I want to double up? Probably not. But gee, there's a lot of this, really, there is. If you get one, you're probably going to get the lot, because they're all very, very similar. Just waiting for these really to have the false breaks that I need. And on the daily chart on the Aussie, it's not quite there. Let me pinch this line, which is, for whatever reason, oh, I know why. I put it there earlier. That's not going to work. So there's my trade. Up to here, break the monthly pivot like it's trying to do, then come back underneath it, retest. They're all the same. Every one of these is all the same trade. But of course, it's got to set up, and that's why we need to be patient. I might be another 4 years older before they set up. That's the problem. Righto, what trades are we in? Orders. Okay, we've got an order on dollar Swissy on the daily chart. I'm not sure if you guys, yeah, you would have seen that yesterday. Now, it didn't pan out yesterday. We didn't get an entry, and this is a very similar trade as well. What now has happened is nothing yesterday, and so far nothing today, but I have replaced the order. Now, just a little bit on the rules of trading daily bars, right? My rules, not the golden rules. Once you place the order, if it's Tuesday, you've got to cancel it before it's Wednesday if it hasn't triggered. If you then want to have a reassessment, which is what I did, and put it back in the market, no problem at all. Here's what you don't want to happen. You want to, if you're somewhere near entry, but not entered, when you get a changeover, spreads widen, you get taken in, and bang, you can get taken straight back out. That's why I like to close the orders overnight and then replace them if necessary. That's the case here, and there's the parameters around it. 91.33 is the entry, 92.07 is the stop loss, and take profit one is at 90.83. Those of you who missed it earlier, the pound on the daily chart is a sell at 1.2845, stop loss at 1.2935, and TP1 at 1.2775. Sino for euro dollar, you're thinking of trading this bar here. And the only answer I can give you from my perspective is that's actually a buying bar for me, not a selling bar. Now, I totally get why trend traders would be looking at that and saying go short, because you have essentially got a seller bar off the monthly pivot. But don't forget, I'm not normal. You all know that. I'm not normal. I don't call those bars seller bars. To me, that's a buying bar if it is in context. And funnily enough, it is in context. So there's actually a buy option there for me if I wanted to take it. Do I want to take it? Well, after what I've just discussed and pointed out to you in terms of a bias, answer no. But if I were to say, okay, what am I actually waiting for? I'm actually waiting for a false break of resistance. What if this is presenting that to me on a platter? Now I've got a trade line sitting here. I've got a break of the monthly pivot, believe it or not. It has broken it. If you have a look at the smaller time frames, you'll see that. There you go. At this stage, it's a false break. But is this a false break of the support trade line? This is where it's not easy, and you have to make up, and it goes to everything we always say. If it's not crystal clear, don't trade it. So I don't see anything crystal clear here apart from the possibility on the daily chart of trading a slingshot setup, which is long, not short. Now, if I were to trade this as a trend trader and trade that bar, and some of the trend traders in the room who are experts in this would probably choose to join in and tell me your thoughts on that. There is a short scenario, I believe. I don't know if this is a daily wave rider setup. I've got no idea, but I don't trade the daily wave rider. But I have a look at what I see as a trend. The trend is not to the downside right now, it's to the upside. Whether that means super trend is green, I don't know. But therefore, they would not trade that short if that were the case. There'd be another reason I wouldn't trade it short. That's because I've got the weekly pivot dead ahead here. Unless you're prepared to take profit at that level, then no, I wouldn't want to be trading that short. In fact, I actually see this going into a mini range here. Well, it's already done it, hasn't it, really? The pivots have got this bound. It's locked up in between daily, monthly, and weekly. So until that breaks out, then I think there's probably an issue with going short. Going long's a bit different because it becomes a breakout. And can I talk myself into this? Can I talk myself into trading this long? I think I probably can, because the setup's there. I've got a nice little high test bar here. I've got a nice little high test bar here. I've got a shot over the bow here, which is approach pullback. And then I've got another shot over the bow here, which is the 3 candle setup for the slingshot. I think I've got to take this. Why didn't I see this morning? Because I'm so bias short. That's why. You've got to trade what you see, not what you think. Okay, so we're going to place a trade long euro dollar, guys. Sorry about that, Sino. I've just completely turned that around on you. But that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to place a long here above that bar at 1.1808. Actually, I'll do that now. 1.1808. This is called analysis on the run. Euro, US dollar. And I'm bias short, guys. Remember, I'm bias short. This is the daily chart. It is a buy order. And we're buying at, forgotten the level, 1.1808, I think it was. I'll put that in anyway. 1.1808. I'll tell you how I'm going to manage this, and it's going to be quick. Stop loss. We'll have to get out of there. The stop loss is going to be below this bar here at 1.1724. That's our stop loss. And TP1, which may indeed be a big scale out. Let me find out where it is. It's going to be there. 1.1866 is TP1. Why is that doing that? That's there, 1.1866, which is what, 58 pips, 1.1866 off a risk of how much? 70.84. That's okay. We will take half off at that point and move stops to entry. So this is an aggressive way to trade this, but don't forget my bias is short. So I actually want it to come back. So TP1, remove a half and put your stops to entry at that point. Righto, I didn't think I'd be doing that today, I've got to say, but there you go. You have to trade what you see and not what you think. Righto. Now, where to start? Euro pound. We're still in. Euro pound's looking much better today.
I think you're right, mate. So I've just been ferreting away here in the background, just trying to find a way to.
Did you do rabbit?
Yeah, I think I'm okay now. I think I'm all right. Yeah, no, I just listening to your Euro conversation, and it's a fascinating one, isn't it? Because in some respects, obviously, we're looking at the euro, but also that dollar index is looking just a little bit weak, isn't it? It just doesn't look like it's had the pickup that it initially looked like it was going to have. A big explosive move to the upside after that first Donald Trump tweet. But I
find it very difficult to read this chart right now.
Well, the dollar index. Yeah,
very difficult.
Agreed, mate. Agreed. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And
it's that former resistance, which is support, but it's also broken the support level. So yeah, it's tough. And as I said a few minutes ago, I think I'd be preferring to range trade the dollar pairs than I would to trade a trend, and that kind of ties in with what I've just said, and what I've just traded on the euro, because I'm actually range trading the euro.
Yeah, it just seems across the board, doesn't it, that we're just at that inflection point. The dollar is no different to the US stock market, where it's at a point actually where it could collapse. Maybe this is the point that we get the next leg down. There was obviously going to be enough people trying to continue to short the dollar. I suppose the sentiment hasn't really changed ever since we saw, continued downside in the dollar. And even though we did have that initial break of the inverted head and shoulders, what's the reason now that it continues to the upside? And I'm struggling to find one. So, getting back down to the lows and beyond potentially is that's more than achievable.
Absolutely more than achievable. I think we're in a bit of an interesting point. in particular with the US dollar. And, we're 3 weeks from an election. And, no matter what we say about, okay, normally elections don't matter too much. This one matters. This one matters big time. And I think the market will most definitely fluctuate on what is said, on what is pork barreled, on what is argued about, all sorts of things. So I totally get why the US dollar index would be all over the shop at the moment. Totally get it.
Yeah, totally agree, mate. And it brings me back to the crypto space yet again. The dollar starts to collapse. Where do we put our money? And I'm certainly going to be looking at some precious metals and some cryptos just to kind of, well, not hedge against the dollar movement, because obviously there won't be a hedge against it really, but just to kind of express the view that I've got that we may well be actually heading through a genuinely seismic change in the monetary in the financial system. It's we've said it for we talked about it a few weeks ago. My view hasn't changed. I think that we could still live through the most astonishing change of hands in power, effectively of what's possibly the reserve currency, but certainly about where we're going. And I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. The move that we had in the stock market after COVID was unprecedented. It was putting in record movements. After we had that COVID situation.
Well, and the second half of it was. I think the first half was totally understandable and made sense. But yes, the rebound, the V-shaped recovery was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, but even the move to the downside, actually, there were some moves that were unprecedented.
We've seen that before, though. I think we've seen that.
The timing. It was over the particular time period. It was quite astonishing. But the conversation that I was having was that at the time, in fact, they were in the Nasdaq, and they were saying to me, "How long do you reckon it's going to take to come back?" And I was saying, "Well, it won't come back this year." And they keep, obviously taunting me about that now, stronger than ever. And I said, it won't come back this year. And the reason that I didn't think it would is because I couldn't see what ammunition the US Federal Reserve had. The interest rates were already at record lows. There was already a huge bond buying stimulus program that hadn't really stopped since the financial crisis. And so we end up sort of, more stimulus coming into play. The debt has just ballooned because of it. And interest rates continue to stay low, and they're talking about maybe 2022. And you start to think, well, how is this possibly sustainable? And of course it's not. There's no way it is sustainable. And the question is a matter of timing. When will it collapse? Because every single president seems to want to kick the can down the road, encourage the Federal Reserve to continue to print money. Will Biden be different? Somebody's got to pick it up eventually. Somebody's got to pick it up and say, no more. We're going to end up like Greece if we're not careful, which will take us generations to come back from, which it will anyway, probably at this stage. So at what stage does do things just collapse? And I wonder whether, as I said before, are we about to live through that over the next 10 years, the next decade? And are we seeing it manifest itself over the next few months?
I can't see how it's avoidable, mate. And I've got to subscribe to that. How does it end?
Yeah,
this part of it is unprecedented in my opinion, because of the spiraling debt that every country is going into now. How does that end? Do the money lenders suddenly say, "Oh, it's all too hard. You can't pay it back. We'll forget it."
Yeah.
Is that what happens? It's unlikely, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's a
So I've had this conversation with Paul before, and he always says to me, they just they'll write off the debt, but somebody owns that debt. Somebody owns it. The City of London buy.
But do they? I mean, we've been printing money ourselves for so long. We do it every day, right? We're not trading money. We're trading digital dots on a chart.
That is very true. That's very true. But if a way that a government, if a way that a central bank manages to generate income is by printing money, but also selling bonds, selling treasury bonds. Somebody owns those bonds. Somebody's out there purchasing that stuff. So how can they possibly just wipe the slate? I mean, to a degree, I get the argument. Yes, of course, there is when it comes down to kind of the debts that's being created, but there's another side of it that says, well, it's impossible because you're still creating the debt somehow. So somebody's got to buy that security to actually put money into the government coffers. So those people aren't going to be too keen to say, well, all's fair in love and war, so don't worry about the debt anymore. You don't have to pay it back.
It's a good subject, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's it's something that's that could run on and on, but regardless of that, because what happens, even if they did write it off, that means they're going to have to effectively scratch a whole system and start again.
And then they'll say, oh, by the way, we don't need cash anymore, aren't they?
Yeah, well, this is where is this where we're headed? Is this where we're headed? Are we headed for a new world? And as I say, it does make the crypto space eminently much more interesting, along with gold and silver, because there's got to be a point where you say, well, while this is all getting sorted out, we need the genuine safe haven.
What's the only thing we can go to? Yeah,
exactly. What's the thing that we've always gone to? And the other thing with that is that, as we've discussed before, it's as much a generation thing as anything else. The older generation will go to gold and silver. The younger generation will go to cryptos. So to have both in your basket of a portfolio is, I think, quite sensible. One would hedge against the other, and potentially they could both explode.
Actually, I've got a question that I should have asked Shukri. So write this down, Shukri, and answer it for us next Tuesday, if you wouldn't mind. There's only a certain amount of Bitcoin in circulation, right? There was the whole premise was that we only. Don't talk to me about mining. I've got no idea what that actually means. I still don't know what it actually means. But there's only a certain amount of them out there to mine, right? How the hell does that work? Because if there's only a certain amount, Ash can't have one because they're all gone. They're all somewhere else. So in the crypto world, we're never going to own it if that's the case. Do we have a 1 millionth share of one Bitcoin because Bitcoin is now worth $500 million per coin? Is that the way it works? So I'd like that, if you can explain that to us on next Tuesday, that would be awesome. That would be awesome, Shukri, because I don't understand that part of it. There's a lot I don't understand about it, but that part in particular is one that I don't understand. Because with dollars, we keep printing them, right? And of course, that's why they put a cap on cryptos. So that couldn't happen. But doesn't the value have to go up exponentially so that we've actually got value from it? To me, that's the only thing that makes sense. If crypto Bitcoin is to be the go-to currency, which it won't be in my opinion, right? But that's where there's a flaw to the system, in my humble opinion. So I'd like that explained to me.
Yeah, fair question, mate. Good morning, Alan, by the way. Oh, it's Shukri. He's already on top of it, mate. He's already on top of it. Yeah, you're right, Alan. That's exactly what I heard as well. If the Democrats get in and they get all three branches of the House of the Senate and Congress, and obviously the presidency, then there will be more stimulus and the market will rally. I agree with that. I just wonder how long that will last. I think they're going to be a lot more based with a workforce and potentially some infrastructure as well. I don't know. It's really difficult to know what's going to happen, but there's a chance that the likes of the FANG stocks that we've seen, Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple, could well and who's the N? Oh, Microsoft. They may well get some kind of regulation against them. So we might start to see a shifting away from the likes of the Nasdaq, which has seen exponential moves to the upside, where the Dow is lagging somewhat. We might actually start to see maybe there could be a cutting back a little bit with some of those Nasdaq stocks, and maybe it moves into the Dow Jones Industrials instead. So we don't really know what's going to happen with the election and how it eventually plays out. But I just there's going to be winners and losers, as there always is. But I think initially you're right. I think that there's potentially going to be another bounce because of that stimulus. But in saying that, that's really what's been going on in the market anyway.
Cool. Okay, we've got a lot of work to do tonight. We're going to put all these trades in the journal.
Yes, we do, mate. Yeah. So if you could note down your ones, the pound trade I missed as well. So note down everything you've got there, mate, and we will note those down in the journal. That'd be grand.
Yeah, the only result I've got so far really is the loser. That's dollar yen. Everything else is either still in the market or hasn't triggered.
Fantastic. All right.
So we'll see how we go.
We'll see how we go. Yeah. Well, let's call it for the week, mates. And
we're done for now. Oh, the week. That's right. It's Thursday. My goodness.
Yeah. For this show, I'm going to be in with Orlando later on at 12 p.m. Oh, sorry, 12 p.m. UK time, which is lunchtime here, which is 7 p.m. Sing until 8:20, and then I'll be joining you at 8:30, and we'll run right the way through until the 10 o'clock hour, mate.
Yeah, something like that.
I've got a bit of a stretch coming up for me.
Yeah, I've got a very early morning in the morning as well. I've got to drive to the other end of Tasmania to deliver some plants, a big order tomorrow. So I'll be looking to get out of that show very, very quickly and jump into bed.
Tonight. Yeah, no problem, mate. No problem.
So
sounds good.
We'll catch up with all you guys then. Those of you who won't be in, and thank you for the answers, Shukri. I'll actually try and cogitate over those in the next little bit whilst I'm having my dinner, perhaps. And John, without new jobs, the economies of the world will struggle to pay this debt off. Really interesting time. Really interesting times, John. I agree. I don't know where it all ends, to be fair. I don't think I'm qualified to answer, to be fair. Again, we will see.
We'll see
all right. We've got to fly, guys. Those of you who won't be with us later, have a great weekend, and we look forward to catching up with you when you are next in the room, which hopefully will be next Monday at the very same time. See you later, Ash.
See you soon, buddy.